session, we'll be starting with the pulse analog modulation. So, you know that the complete pulse modulation is divided into two types: analog pulse modulation and a digital pulse modulation. So, before going into the classification of this analog pulse modulation, we need to know what is the advantage of using this pulse modulation. So, for the first advantage of this using pulse modulation is the transmitted power. The transmitted power will be no longer continuous. That means it will be a discrete. That means the transmitted power is no longer continuous as in continuous modulation, but the pulse signal will be in a, but it will be in a pulsed nature. And the second advantage of this pulse modulation is time between the pulse occurrence filled by interleaving or the multiplexing of pulse waveforms of some other messages or others. We call it as a TDM, that is time division multiplexing. So these are the advantages of pulse modulation. And coming to the classifications, here we have So here we have three different types of classifications. The first is pulse amplitude modulation, PAM, and the next is PWM, which is abbreviated as pulse width modulation. And the third one is PPM, that is abbreviated as pulse position modulation. So these are the three different types of analog pulse modulation techniques. So let us see one by one. The first topic is pulse amplitude modulation. So the first definition of this pulse amplitude modulation is that the amplitude of the pulse carrier varies proportionally to the instantaneous amplitude of the message signal. So that is, the amplitude of the pulse carrier varies proportionally to the instantaneous values. That means the instantaneous amplitude of the message signal. So that is the basic definition of pulse amplitude modulation. And as a signal contains three parameters: amplitude, width, and position. So in this, the constant parameters are the width and positions. So here it is mentioned as the width and positions of the pulses are constant in this modulation, and the varying parameter will be amplitude. So as we know that we have PAM could be of two types. That is, the first one is single polarity PAM and the second is double polarity PAM. So first, single polarity PM, or what is that? Single polarity PM is a fixed DC bias is added to the signal. So in a shortcut, we can say it as a fixed DC bias will be added to the signal to ensure that all the pulses go to the positive side of the signal. It means this is the best example for single polarity of PM. That means we have a fixed DC level and all the pulses of this signal will be in the positive region. So that is single polarity PM. And for the double polarity PM, or we call it as a bipolar PM, in this the pulses will be both positive and as well as negative. So from this images, we can observe that the first one we have is unipolar, that is also called as a single polarity PAM. That means a fixed DC level is added such that all the pulses, these are the pulses, and all the pulses are in the positive direction. Whereas in this bipolar, that is double polarity PAM, we can see that the positive pulses, we have the positive pulses and the negative pulses. So this is double polarity PM. So we have two different types of PM, that is single polarity and double polarity PM. Now, these are the signals. So this is your message signal, any arbitrary message signal, and which is in a continuous, and this will be your carrier signal. So as you know that the sampling, general sampling is of two types, that is a natural sampling and flat top sampling. So similarly in this pulse amplitude modulation, we have natural PAM and flat top PAM. Now the difference between this natural and flat top sampling is, in this natural PAM, the analog input, the sinusoidal input, that is the message signal, is multiplied by the train of uniformly spaced rectangular pulses. As you can see here, the message signal. So this is an analog input which is multiplied by these train of uniform spaced rectangular pulses. So that is natural sampling. While in flat top sampling, the top of the samples are flat. This means they have a constant amplitude. So that is the difference between natural PAM and flat top PAM. So we have, depending upon that sampling PAM, we have three different types of techniques. The first is ideal sampling, second is natural sampling, and the third one we have is a flat top sampling. Now, what is the best advantage and this use of this studying PAM is the advantage of this modulation, pulse amplitude modulation, is the generation and detection will be easy for this modulation, and it also, the major advantage is it is also allowing the multiplexing process. And coming to the disadvantage of this pulse amplitude modulation, we have a large bandwidth of the transmitted signal. So here we have a band pass filter characteristics, which will be allowing a fixed range of frequencies and removing all the other high frequencies. So this is the band pass filter characteristics. So coming to the next, this is the waveforms of your natural PAM. That means how will you obtain this natural PAM signal? So for this, for a PAM signal produced with this natural sampling, the sampled signal follows the wave. So for suppose this is your input signal, that means a modulating signal, and we have a pulsed carrier. So this is your carrier signal, and this will be your natural PAM signal. Now what happens in this PAM signal, how it is generated? So the PAM signal is generally generated by using this pulse train called the sampling signal. This is called as a sampling signal, or we can call it as a pulse train. To rate an electronic switch or chopper, this produces samples of analog message signals. So this produces the samples of analog signals, analog message signals. Now, if you see here, this is the basic block diagram of pulse amplitude modulation. Here we have a switch. So when this switch is closed for the duration of each pulse, it allows the message signal and the sampling time to be the part of the output. And when this switch is closed, switch is closed for the remainder of each sampling period, making the output as zero. Output in the zero, in the sense it will be showing a flat output. So this is known as a natural sampling. In simplest form, this PAM can be so in this simplest form of PAM, we can be if you see here, in simplest form, we can call this pulse amplitude modulation as an output of AND gate, which will be having two inputs as a message, two inputs, one input as a message signal X of t, and another input signal as a pulses of sampling train. So this is about pulse amplitude modulation. And in this pulse amplitude modulation, we have aperture effect, which is seen in pulse amplitude modulation, and equalizers used at the receiver end. So coming to the drawbacks of this PAM, that is pulse amplitude modulation, bandwidth required for this transmission of pulse amplitude modulation signal is very large when it is compared to the maximum frequency preset in the modulating signal. And it has a major variation of peak power required by the transmitter. So this is the second drawback. And the third drawback is this amplitude of pulse amplitude modulation. Pulses varies in accordance with the modulating signal. So interference of noise is maximum at peaks in the pulse amplitude modulation. So these are the drawbacks of pulse amplitude modulation. Next, how are we going to demodulate this pulse amplitude modulation at the receiver end? So the demodulation is also called So this demodulation of pulse amplitude modulation, it also can be reconstructed at the receiver end. So by passing it through a efficient low pass filter, that means the PAM sampled signal which is satisfying this Nyquist rate, it can be, the signal can be passed through a efficient low pass filter with exact cutoff frequency of fs by 2. So this process is called as reconstruction, or we can call it as interpolation filter. That means the filtering process of the signal with the help of low pass filter is operation is going here. So this is also called as an interpolation filter, and the low pass filter which is used here is to eliminate the high frequency ripples and generate the demodulated signal. So this signal is then applied to the inverting amplifier to amplify the signal level. That means to increase the signal strength and to have the demodulated output with almost equal to the amplitude of the message or the modulating signal. So for flat topped PAM, holding circuit followed by a low pass filter gives the modulating signal, whereas for this natural, for this normal PAM signal, we need to just pass it through a low pass filter. But whereas for this flat topped pulse amplitude modulation, a holding circuit, so this is, it will be receiving, the receiver will be receiving the pulse amplitude modulated signal, and it will be passed through a holding circuit. And after this, it is followed by a low pass filter, which will be giving the demodulated signal. So this is about the demodulation of pulse amplitude modulation. And the next we have is pulse time modulation. So in this pulse time modulation, amplitude of the pulse is constant, while position and width of the pulses are made proportional to the amplitude of the signal at the sampling instant. It can be pulse width modulation or pulse position modulation. So in this both cases, amplitude becomes constant and does not carry any information. So amplitude limiters can be used for providing the good noise immunity. So how are we going to generate this pulse time modulation is first by using an indirect method, and next is by using direct method. So first, so in this indirect method, so if we see here, we have input message signal, and the second we have input as a sawtooth. So these two signals are added and the sum is applied to the comparator, whose reference level will be suitably chosen. And the second crossing of this comparator level will be used for the PPM. And coming to this direct method, the pulse time waveforms can be generated by using pulse amplitude modulation waveforms. So coming to the next one, that is pulse width modulation. So the definition of this pulse width modulation is the modulation of signals by varying the width of the pulses. We can say it as pulse width modulation, and the constant parameters will be the amplitude and the positions. That means only the width will be varying and amplitude and positions are constant. Now coming to this, so this is the block diagram, and we have a non-inverting input of the comparator which is fed to the input message signal of x of t, and the other with a sawtooth generator which operates at carrier frequency. Now the comparator will compare the two signals together to generate the PWM signal at its output. So at its output is high only when the instantaneous values of this x of t, that means the message signal, is higher than the sawtooth waveform. So if you compare here in this image, so this will be your sawtooth generator, this will be the sawtooth waveform, and this is your message signal. Now if you compare these two, that means the comparator will compare these two signals, and the output is generated only when the instantaneous of values of x of t values is higher than the sawtooth waveform. And the rising edges of the pulse width modulation signal occurs. This is the rising edge. So the rising edge of this pulse width modulation occurs at the fixed time period of KTS. So here it is represented as KTS, while trailing edges depends upon the amplitude of the message signal x of t. when this sawtooth voltage waveform is greater than the x of t, that means the original message signal, the output of this comparator will be 0. And the trailing edge is modulated. If this sawtooth waveform is reversed, the trailing edge is fixed while the leading edge will be modulated. And replacing this sawtooth waveform by triangular, both leading and trailing edge modulation are modulated. That means both leading edge and the trailing edge will be modulated. And the amplitude of this pulse duration modulation, and or we can call it as pulse width modulation, will be positive saturation of the comparator being same for all the pulses. So here we have 3 different types of pulse width modulations are possible. So the first one is leading edge, the second is trailing edge, and the third is center of the pulse being constant. So let us see what is this. So the first, the leading edge of this pulse being constant, a trailing edge varies according with the message signal. Whereas in trailing edge, the leading edge will be varied according to the message signal. And for the center of the pulse, that means this portion, the center of this pulse being constant, the leading edge and the trailing edge varies according with the message signal. And the next topic is pulse width modulation detector. Now the received pulse width modulation, how are we going to detect is by using this block diagram. So this block diagram, in the first we have a noisy PWM, which is the signal is transmitted through the channel, we'll get a noisy PWM signal. So that PWM, noisy PWM signal is given to the receiver. So in that receiver, we have the first block is Schmitt trigger to remove the noise. So received PWM signal, which is applied to the Schmitt trigger circuit to remove the noise. Now, the next regenerated PWM is applied to the ramp generator and the synchronization pulse. So this same signal out of output of this Schmitt trigger is given for both a ramp generator and as well as synchronization pulse generator. Now, depending upon this, the height of ramp is proportional to the width. Now, if you observe here in this waveforms, the height of the ramp is proportional to the width of the pulses. Now, the pulse generator produces a reference pulses with constant amplitude and width, but it is delayed with some specific amount of time. So delayed references pulses. So these will be the delayed references pulses. So these delayed references pulses are added to the output of the output of the ramp generator. So these will be the pulses, and the output of this ramp signal is added to the adder output. So this will be the clipping level. Now the output of this level shifter or the clipping level and the negative offset shifts waveform. Then clipped by the rectifier followed by low pass filter to give the original message signal. Now coming to the next, we have pulse modulation, pulse position modulation. So in this pulse position modulation, let me start with the definition. So pulse position modulation is also analog modulation scheme in which the amplitude and the width of the pulses will be constant, while the position of each pulse will be varied. So we have two constant parameters here, amplitude and as well as width, and the position will be varied. With reference to the position of these reference pulses varies according to the instantaneous values of the sample values of the message signal. And this pulse position modulation can be obtained from the pulse width modulation. So if you observe here, this will be the pulse width modulation, and from this pulse width modulation, pulse width modulation signal is used to trigger input of the monostable multivibrator, and its outputs remain 0 until it is triggered on the trailing edge of pulse width modulation. Now the output of this monostable multivibrator switches to the positive saturation and remains high for fixed periods, then goes to low. Hence the position of these pulses is proportional to the width of these pulse width modulation pulses. And now the advantage of this pulse position modulation is, as the amplitude and the width are constant, the power handled will be constant. And coming to the disadvantage, we have is the synchronization between the transmitter and the receiver is a necessary thing, but it is not provided in this pulse position modulation. So this is the advantage of pulse position modulation. Now, coming to this generation of pulse position modulation from the pulse width modulation, how are we going to generate this? So pulse duration modulation is differentiated. That means the waveform of this pulse width modulation is differentiated and then rectified and then shaped. So if you observe here in the waveforms, this will be the pulse width modulation output, and it is differentiated where we can see spikes of signals, and after this is passed through a half wave rectifier, and it is shaped by using this sync pulses. If we add the sync pulses, the original shape of this pulse position modulation will be obtained here. And now let us see what is this overview of PAM, PWM and PPM. Now in this, what have we seen in this pulse amplitude modulation is the amplitude of the pulse is proportional to the amplitude of the modulating of the signal. And the second we have is the bandwidth of transmitting channel depends on the width of the pulses. And coming to the third point, instantaneous power of transmitter varies and noise interference will be high in pulse amplitude modulation. And the system will be very much complex because noise is very much added in this pulse amplitude modulation, which is also similar to amplitude modulation. Now coming to pulse width modulation. From the definition itself, we can say that the width of this pulse is proportional to amplitude of the modulating signal. And the next we have is the bandwidth of this transmitting channel depends upon the rise time of the pulse. That means the rise time of your clock pulse. And the next is the instantaneous power of the transmitter varies where noise interference becomes minimum. Now, compared to your pulse amplitude modulation, this pulse width modulation is very much similar to implement, similar to frequency modulation. And the last we have is pulse position modulation. So from this also we have a definition, that is the relative position of pulse is proportional to the amplitude of the modulating signal, and the bandwidth of this transmitting channel depends on the rise time of the pulse. And the instantaneous power remains constant where noise interference will be minimum. And this is also compared, when it is compared to all these techniques, it is very much simple to implement, and it is very much similar to phase modulation PM. And now we have a list of differences, different parameters here, where we can see the difference between pulse amplitude modulation, pulse width modulation, and pulse position modulation. So what are the parameters we have is pulse amplitude modulation. So in this pulse amplitude modulation, the train of pulses will be the carrier. Similarly, in all the cases as PAM, PWM and PPM, the carrier will be a train of pulses. And in this PAM, what is the constant variable characteristics is amplitude is varied, and in pulse width modulation, width is varied, and in pulse position modulation, position is varied. Whereas comparing to coming to this bandwidth requirement, pulse amplitude modulation is required with a low bandwidth, and pulse width modulation and pulse position modulation is having a high bandwidth. Next, compared to the noise immunity, coming to this noise immunity, pulse amplitude modulation has a disadvantage that it is having low noise immunity, and the pulse width modulation and pulse position modulations are high, which is having high noise immunity. And what are the varying parameters here? That is information contained. In which parameter does the information contain in pulse amplitude modulation? Is it is amplitude varies, and in pulse width modulation, width will be varied. That means width variations will be more, and in pulse position modulation, position varies. Similarly, regarding this power, that means the signal to noise ratio, and for PAM it will be low, and PWM, that is pulse width modulation, it is moderate, and in pulse position modulation it is a little bit high when compared to pulse width modulation. And coming to the transmitted power, it will be varying in pulse amplitude modulation and pulse width modulation, whereas in pulse position modulation it will be a constant. Now the next parameter is need to transmit synchronization pulses. So there is no need to there is no need of synchronization between the pulses in pulse amplitude and pulse width modulation, whereas in pulse peak position there is a there should be a synchronization of the pulses. So it is necessary for synchronizing the pulses. And coming to the bandwidth, in pulse amplitude modulation, it will be depending upon the width of the pulses, and in pulse width modulation, pulse width and pulse position modulation, it depends upon the rise time of the pulses. The bandwidth depends upon the rise time of the pulses. And coming to the transmitted power, it will be instantaneous power will be varied with respect to the amplitude of pulses. And in pulse width modulation, instantaneous power varies with the width of the pulses, and in pulse position modulation it is constant. And coming to this complexity and generation, how is the generation and detection in all these three techniques? So in this pulse amplitude modulation, it is very much complex, and then pulse width modulation, it is very much easy, and pulse position modulation, it is very much complex. So what are these three different types of analog pulse modulation techniques compared to? So this is very much simpler. That means pulse amplitude modulation is very much similar to amplitude modulation. Pulse width modulation is very much similar to frequency modulation, and as well as pulse position modulation is similar to phase modulation. So these are the comparisons between pulse amplitude modulation, pulse width modulation, and pulse position modulation. So in this session, we have seen three different types of analog pulse modulation techniques. That is the first PAM, PWM, and the next is last one is pulse position modulation. And this, how are the signals are generated, and how are they detected? And at the last, we have discussed about the differences between all the three different types of techniques.